This is when you first walk in. I'm standing at the front door, so this is your living room. You have the pellet stove over there, but it is not hooked up, and I'm not entirely sure why. I do know that Fairbanks, North Star Borough, and EPA have certain regulations, so this particular appliance may not meet the standards for EPA anymore, and maybe that's why they disconnected it while it's on the market. But if it doesn't meet the standard, then it would need to be removed, and you can replace it with an approved appliance. But that's the hookup. I'll get to some cosmetic stuff here in a minute. We'll just do like a quick little tour here. Open concept, kitchen, dining, living room. And the dining looks out to the front of the house. Any appliance that you see with the property will stay. This is just like a linen closet right here. Pretty spacious. Full bath. So it looks like you guys noticed quite a bit of things just from the photos. This is just dirt. I've looked around the whole property first before I started taking these videos, just to kind of go over all the questions that you have. The walls, everything. I mean, I think the ceiling would be okay, but they need painted. They're all white. They're just dingy. They're dirty. They're scuffed up. But that's about it, paint-wise. But yeah, in pretty much every room, there's just a lot of scuffs and stuff. Now for the hallway, so they have Vivint, which is like a security system, and that's what this is. It's just the power for it, and they just did a sloppy job. Instead of, they could have pulled the outlet off, like the outlet cover, and ran that wire. They could have actually like hardwired it or ran the wire through, made it look a little bit prettier. They didn't. They just poked a hole right to the side and then plugged it in that way. And then the thermostat, I have no idea why they did the thermostat this way. Actually, this looks like this is your thermostat. And this is an afterthought, some sort of fire detection. It could be a smoke and carbon monoxide detector. It's not functioning, so they literally drilled a hole in the subfloor and just brought the cord up through the crawl space. So this could be removed and replaced with just your standard like smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Also off the hallway, right when you come down, is the laundry room area. And you had questions about that. This is likely, because there's natural gas out here, right there is likely natural gas. It's just not hooked up. They're using electric. Right here, that's just a drain pipe, and it is likely from the HRV, which is in the crawl space. Your HRV, because we don't have central air, it's a heat recovery ventilation system. It moves air throughout the house, and in every room you'll have one of these. So some suck air, some blow air. So it just cycles air throughout the house. It also controls humidity. I have no idea what this is. It's just some sort of plate cover. So they could be covering something up. I don't know. Maybe, I couldn't tell you. You know, a lot of times people use it for doors, you know, so they don't slam into the walls, but I don't know why that's there. First bedroom on your left. Not many issues. Again, it's just gross. Like, I don't know. It's just really dirty. They do have a lot of these, but I will say when I walked in, this is brand new carpet. They recently just installed this, and you could see those scrap carpet remnants when I first walked in. So I don't know. They could have had pets or something and it just left a smell, and maybe they like their home smelling like Glade air fresheners. But all brand new carpet runs throughout. There's your remnants right there. The LVP flooring, you know, it's in really good shape. It seems to be nicely done. I'm not seeing any crazy gaps or anything in between the panels. But again, I know you mentioned in the master closet, this is just dirt. It's just very dirty. So good cleaning on the baseboards and a nice fresh coat of paint everywhere. Back bedroom, it is a little dark. The lighting in here is not great. But I didn't notice anything crazy. One thing I do notice, like this window well in particular, and there were a couple, that's mildew. That's just from, you know, when it gets really cold, but it's warm in here. They probably didn't adjust the humidity level on the HRV, so it was too humid, and it creates ice on the windows, moisture around the windows. You need to recalk this. This is a nice big gap there. It needs to be recalked, and there's several windows like that, but that would clean off just fine. And then last bedroom is the primary bedroom. All the bedrooms are really good size. This one especially, like you could easily fit a king. The other two, you could probably comfortably fit a queen. Again, are all along just the baseboard here. It's just dirt. But this is one of the windows also that looks similar to the other. It's not mold, it's mildew. It can be cleaned off with bleach or like a Clorox wipe. But they need to be recalked. Most of them are not. They've, you know, the caulk has broke away. You can see there. But then they've recently redone this one. This is newer caulking there. Master bath. Nothing crazy that I see. I mean, this could probably be recalked. You don't want to get any water up in that crack, so and clean it off. Well water. North Pole well water is notorious for being heavy in iron, so it's not surprising to see like iron deposits and toilets and showers. It just kind of is what it is. A water softener system definitely helps, but you're still going to get, you know, the kind of golden brown iron deposits like in high water areas like your shower and your sinks. One thing I did notice, at least in this room, this is a seam where the sheetrock butts together, and it's been patched, and so I'm not sure why, if at some point there was maybe some cracking and that's their solution. They just patched it. There's another one right here. I don't know what that is, but that is definitely a patch. Could be a fist in the wall. That does happen. Here's more where they did some patchwork. So my guess is there's been settling. I know this home was built in 2019, but another thing, this is also a Byler home. Byler Builders built this house. I wish I would have looked at that before. However, I think knowing where this home is built, I don't have as much concern. There are certain homes in Fairbanks where we will not sell homes as a brokerage that were built by Byler because they built on terrible land. They literally built on swamps. So of course they had foundation issues, structural issues. This one, I don't notice any issues walking around. Everything feels really solid. It is over a crawl space, but like it feels like a solid build. Could just be sloppy work while you get cracks in the sheetrock. Cheap building, you know, that's pretty much what you get when you see some of these newer constructed homes. Especially around the time when they were built. You know, custom homes up here are kind of hard to come by. Most of these are spec homes. So they're constructed fairly quickly in our construction season. And then, you know, it might not be the best finished work, but that's just likely what that is. Here's the primary closet. You had mentioned dark spots. Again, it's dirt. It's in every corner. I'm not seeing any mold, just dirt. It's just really dirty. And then crawl space access, attic access. So you had a question about that. We're not going to find anything worth looking at in the attic other than the trusses. And that would definitely be something the engineer would take a peek at, though, if you guys went under contract on this one and got your home inspection. He'd go up there, look at the structural components of the roof from the inside, make sure there's ample attic insulation, or note if there isn't. So we don't use attics to store anything. We use crawl spaces. And this one has a really nice big opening. I've already been down in the crawl space, but I'll go down there. But everything looks fine. It's got vapor barrier where it should be. And the HRV is down there, and I'll show that to you. Here's in the crawl space. There's your HRV. That's your heat recovery ventilation system. It pulls fresh air from outside and then pushes air also outside. So it just cycles it throughout the house. This crawl space is insulated. This is a little interesting. It's not necessary, but so you have your insulation on the walls. which is normal. But they also insulated the floor, which is not necessary. You do really want, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I can double check code, but it's not necessary because you want your crawl space to vent, have good ventilation. The HRV does help. So there are a couple ducts in here, so it is moving air down here. So that's probably why they decided to go with insulation. So it's just, you know, it's extra efficiency, I suppose, but not entirely necessary. Structurally, I'm not seeing anything wrong. There's some loose, you know, bolts, nuts and bolts on the foundation, but that's an easy fix. Like, this is just a stem wall that runs down the center of the home. And over there, that's just a poured concrete. But yeah, everything's insulated. It's all trim coat, so it's all sealed up. And it looks pretty good down here. But this is where you typically store your stuff, like Christmas decorations and suitcases and all of that. There's looking out back. So there's your pellet stove. You got your back door there. It's a nice little wraparound porch. This is on just over an acre. So you got a lot of space. It's in the very back of the neighborhood at the end of the cul-de-sac. So very private. Here's the garage. It is big. We have a 3/4 ton truck. It would fit just fine in here. You have the taller garage doors, so you could go with bigger truck. You could easily fit 2 vehicles in here, no problem. And you have additional space. 2 windows. Again, pretty typical. You've got some mildew, some just like the caulking is cracked. Garages do tend to have higher humidity levels because you bring your truck in the wintertime and it's covered in snow and it just drains off, but it does have a floor drain. Water softener and boiler, water heaters incorporated in the boiler. This one runs off of natural gas. So it is propane, natural gas. If they're on a tank, which I didn't see, it would be propane. If they're tied into the lines, which they've started burying and distributing throughout North Pole, it's natural gas.